Well, it's another day here at the historic Hotel Orloff. Hold on. Located here in the Pacific Northwest, Spokane, Washington. We've been looking at Gold Key and Dell Comics. Let's continue to do that. This is episode 785 of the Hotel Orloff. It's June 28th, possibly, 2023. So let's see, where were we? I think we were looking at Starstream. Could be. I think we were looking at Dr. Specter's Spine-Tingling Tales. That sounds more familiar. Not a painted cover. Again, more entertainment from Don Glut and Jesse Santos as the artist. Yes, indeed. Look at these iron-on. Are they iron-ons? No, these are cloth patches. I just want you to let me get that light over a little bit better. I want you to see this patch of Batman. Look at that. Wasn't that? I don't know. I could never get the lighting just right. Now I've got a shadow. Gosh darn it. Yeah. There we go. See that patch of Batman? Look at that. Pretty incredible, huh? If you only had a time machine, you could go back in time and get that cloth patch of Batman to cover the holes in your jeans. But now holes in jeans are very fashionable, so you wouldn't want to cover the holes, would you? This is from the old days. Oh, I have no idea what. Okay. Starstream. This was Gold Key under the Whitman imprint, trying to see if they could get some older readers. And they thought, well, we'll have a publication that maybe could be sold in comic stores because we'll do adaptations of sophisticated science fiction writers that adults read, like Isaac Asimov and Paul Anderson. Let's see how they've marketed it. Blast off with Starstream. 4 great first editions, all new comic adaptations of the best stories in the science fiction gallery, featuring science fiction's most celebrated authors: Asimov, Anderson, Niven, Sturgeon, Van Gogh, Campbell, McCaffrey, and many others. So they thought, maybe the science fiction readers would like this, and looks a little more sophisticated than the average Gold Key comic. I don't know. I mean, the art's slightly better, but these are adaptations of these, I shouldn't say highbrow authors, but at least it's based on professional science fiction writers. Yes, indeed. Starstream. It's the only Starstream I have. I don't know how many of these came out. That's for me to know and you to find out, except I don't know, so you need to find out. Of course you don't care. Okay. This is Star Trek number 8. Star Trek was, and this is from, gosh darn. This is from September of 1970. Star Trek was already off the air at this point. And this is from May of '71. Star Trek was definitely off the air and in limbo, because it really wasn't until about 1973 that Star Trek came back and became hugely popular, more popular than it was in its network run when it was put into syndication. It seems like it was right about the time the cartoon was playing on Saturday mornings, which was a good cartoon. Okay, we're at November of 73. Another wonderful painted cover. This one, I trade, or was it? No, this I think was the first Star Trek I actually was able to purchase. Issue 24. I'm looking at it. It's fascinating in that I'm still not happy with that lighting situation. I really hate this ring light. I think I'm gonna stop using it because it's really messing with my my eyes. Anyway, bye. Yeah. Well, I'll continue doing these shows even though really no one's watching them, but that's fine. A few of you watch, and that's great. Star Trek. This is the first one I ever got as a kid. If you couldn't, and I think that's probably the best font ever for Star Trek, with the spaceship going this way and that. But if you just looked at only at this part of the cover, I mean, you'd never dream this is a Star Trek comic. They never wore spacesuits. Somehow, magically, all the planets they went down to were perfectly breathable oxygen. There were a couple of episodes where they had to put on some protective gear, but anyway, you know that because you watch Star Trek. I like that scene in the parody movie Flesh Gordon where they get off of the spaceship, and Dr. Zarkov, whose name has been changed to something I can't mention, but he says he gets out of the spaceship and breathes in a deep breath and says, "Good, there's oxygen on this planet." I thought that's very true of a lot of this kind of stuff, man. That was okay. That was a Whitman, so I don't know what month that was. This one, March of 74. This one I think I traded with a friend to get. It was either this one or that one. I think it was this one. This may have been the first Star Trek I got. That last one with the orange cover was the first one I got from the newsstand. This looks a little more like Star Trek. Sure enough, how about that? This is the kind of art that you would get in these books. Oh, this blood-curdling vampire bat. You know, this blood-curdling vampire bat is life-size. You know, you can terrorize your friends on those dark, scary nights. Seems so alive, so realistic. Even fools of the bats. Amazes, shocks everyone. Monster size, authentic natural colors, hideous 7.5-inch fangs. That's not true at all. Carrot with, it doesn't have 7.5-inch fangs. It's 7.5 inches long. See, it says 7.5-inch fangs, but it should be 7.5-inch, fangs. It does have fangs. I had that thing as a kid. I got it. They didn't get it through an ad in a comic book. I think I probably got it at Stuckey's. Stuckey's was a restaurant that was on every highway. They had bunches of them, and you'd go there and eat. But it was like a tourist trap. In order to get into the part of the restaurant where you eat, you had to go through this little store with lots of gag gifts and toys that kids would all want. That's where you get those little birds, the dunking birds that would, with the red fluid in them, that would dip down and then go back up, and then would just do perpetual motion. Stuckies, yeah. I think there's still a few Stuckies. When we were moving here, my friend Gerald and I, in the U-Haul, we passed the Stuckies in the very northern part of Texas. And we weren't able to stop, but there's no way it was going to be as cool as it was back in 1972. I knew that. Oh well. Incense magic. And you could get this life-size ghost, which had a head that was a balloon, is what I understand. Its eyes glow in the dark. It's over 7 feet tall. Sure is. You'd say, I ordered a 7-foot ghost. Why does it arrive in a box this small? Because it's just a sheet that folds up and a balloon that you got to blow up for the head. And then once you blow that up and hang the sheet under it, well, then the sheet's maybe 7 feet tall. Yes, indeed. Man, I just, you're holding your childhood copy, it's kind of amazing. 20 cents. It's just one of those things that this connection you get, like an electrical connection with yourself as a little kid. But I wouldn't get with this beat up rag of a copy because this wasn't my childhood copy. This was some other kid, some moron that didn't know how to treat books. Look at what they did to this comic. How do you make a comic look like that unless you have total disregard for the fact that your parents spent 30 cents, which was something back then. It's filthy, disgusting. Oh man, and this is from February of 1977. So, few short months away from the release of Star Wars. Oh boy. What are they up to here in this episode of Star Trek? This is just a terrible copy of this. They definitely could use some upgrading of this. Looking on or putting on lipstick to attract Mr. Spock. But these are wonderful books. They're really fun to read. So anyway, Star Trek. Some people call it Star Trek because they don't know how to pronounce the word Trek. But alright, anyway, who cares? That's a great cover. Yeah, there never were planets blowing up in Star Trek. They didn't ever do that. Yes, indeed. There's Lieutenant Uhura, and I guess an Asian woman in outer space. Sometimes they get the likenesses pretty good of the actors. But Star Trek was something I loved tremendously as a kid, so whenever I could find these Star Trek comics, and I didn't find them that often, Gold Key comics just didn't have as quite the distribution that hold on a second, that you would get from Marvel and DC. You go back to the 7-Eleven or the Stop and Go pretty often, you're not going to miss any Marvel or DC, but sometimes the Star Trek comics just didn't seem to. I didn't see them that often. I bought it every time I saw it. I got it, and it wasn't that often. And some of these I bought later. This one I bought when it came out. I remember this one. I'll tell you which ones I got as they came out. This one I got as it came out. I'm pretty sure I remember that. I think this is from when we lived in January, February, March of 75. Okay, so I was still living in San Antonio when we got this one. I always liked this painting. They're wearing some variation of some uniform they're wearing when they went down to the planet that was never shown in the show, but I love how they've drawn, I assume that's Yeoman Rand from the first season, and I love her beehive hairdo. That's great, fantastic. Oh, you got walking tree men in this issue. Beautiful painting. That's a painting I'd like to own. Yeah, Yeoman Rand was a crush of mine when I was a kid, and also the Gamesters of Triskelion episode. That was something. Okay. Look how they're blowing up these natives. Star Trek's protecting that native woman. They're just that's something else. This is August of 75. Still in San Antonio when this one came out. Because we moved in the summer of 75 to Tacoma, Washington. Wait, what? What? Oh, I see. Oh, that's what confused me. I have 2 copies of that issue. This one's not bagged and boarded. To my eternal shame, I have a lot of books that aren't bagged and boarded, and someday I'll be able to afford to bag and board them. If you want to help me in that quest, buy some episodes of The Tomb of Terror, the historic television program that I have created. I'm already up to episode 32, about to do episode 33 when I get some free time. Maybe Friday. You won't believe the amount of fun. I cannot emphasize to you enough how much fun you will have watching The Tomb of Terror, the Gratu Orloff produced television show. Each episode is 2 hours long, filled with fun and music and cartoons and movie trailers and old commercials. It's a blast. Order an episode, see if you like it. Order an episode, they're $20 each, including postage. If you order 4 or more, let's say 4 or more. I think I was saying 5 or more. But if you order 4 or more, you can pay $16 each plus postage. You say, gosh, that's a lot of money. But if you think about it, if you go back to the 1980s, remember you were paying $20 each for those Something Weird VHS cassettes. You were. And I'm not trying to gouge you. I don't want to distribute entertainment to you, but I am trying to I'm trying to raise a little money, just mainly to eat. Oh yeah, this is what I love when you see the blasting coming out of the back engines of the. Sometimes you'd see they drew flame shooting out of the back turbines, whatever you call those stupid things. I'm sure some of you know the exact terminology. Well, imagine if the original Star Trek show from the 60s. Imagine if Ray Harryhausen had worked on that show and you were actually able to see Kirk fighting something that looked like that. That would have been something else, man. I can't get away from this stupid ad with these horrible depictions of things. Yes, all your cartoon favorites. Remember the shirt that says "I'm with stupid" with the arrow? That was a perennial favorite. My gosh, what? This looks like a pirate comic. It's just for a few pages, it's hard to even see that it's a Star Trek book. That looks like an image from Vietnam or something. I guess they're telling the story of how this planet got messed up that they're landing on. And then, here's Kirk fighting one of them. It looks like we're reading Korak, son of Tarzan, which is wonderful. It's great to use your imagination and don't just follow a formula. Let's create some Star Trek that you've never seen. This is July of '76. And you can look at that number there. It says 607, so that means July of '76. Which means it came out in May of '76, which means we were just getting ready to move from Tacoma, Washington, back to Texas, to Arlington, Texas, where I resided for many decades until a little more than a year ago, until I came here to Nome, Alaska. Now, this one has is that painted or is that some kind of, I don't know, almost looks like a chalk drawing on a sidewalk. It's not as good as the other paintings. That's from November of '75. What's this one? Oh, this is one I think I got at the big record store I went to last April. I'm starting to realize I listen to these old Hypnotic Eye shows. By the way, I didn't tell you how to get Tomb of Terror. Tomb of Terror is the same format as the Hypnotic Eye, a show I worked on back in the 90s. Now, it's a Dallas public access show that's over the years kind of achieved some kind of notoriety among crazy people like us. What was I just saying? Where was I going with this? Oh, well, you can order through PayPal. You go to PayPal at Kenneth Weinert, KENNETHWEINERT. PayPal at Kenneth Weinert, and you put your address there, and then you get the disc in the mail, and then you have hours of entertainment. This one's from, that's what I was going to say. I watched the old Hypnotic Eye shows, and my voice doesn't sound like this. Now I've got this, it's like, I don't know if it's from years and years of public speaking, because the show was filmed in the 90s. It's just at some point my voice is, sometimes I listen to these recordings of these shows after I do them, and I'm starting to sound like Robert Kennedy Jr., who talked like this. I would like be talking like this. And some people say, I would never vote for him. I can't stand his voice. It's usually women that say that. No offense to women, but a couple days ago, Robert Kennedy, came out and showed some pictures of himself at the gym, and he looks like Steve Reeves playing Hercules back in 1960. So, you can't judge someone based on their voice. I think that guy is great, but I'm all for Trump. But I just wish that Trump and Kennedy could run on the same ticket. That would be fantastic. Imagine having a flag or a sign in your yard that says Trump Kennedy. Can you get more historic than that? Republicans and Democrats coming together to fight the deep entrenched, deep state, evil, satanic, Marxist, communist, devil-worshipping swine. That would be great. Okay, well, anyway, I think I bought that at Canesville Collectibles. I know I did this one. Shit. Shoot. This one, was part of that horde that Kevin Johnson just got at Gotham City Comics. I'm starting to get senile here. And anyway, I think Jambo put this in his pile. I said, well, I've got that. I mean, mine's has a little bit of problems, but someone drew these, someone got a little pen and went crazy, giving Spock a makeover there. Well, anyway, great, fantastic stuff. I went to Canesville Collectibles about this time last April. It's a great record store. You can see the episode here on YouTube of me going there. But I keep getting distracted, man. I'm all over the place today because my voice is so weird, man. I just missed Senator Grassley, who's one of the main guys going after Hunter Biden and Joe Biden, and he was just like a block away from here. But I had to help my wife get ready, and he was just talking like right near here. I wish I could have gone. She wanted to see him too. He's one of the non-communist people trying to save our country. Star Trek 40. This is a copy from my childhood. What can I do to fix this? Just probably old age, huh? It's like my eyes, my voice, everything's going. I guess I can't fix my voice and get rid of this raspiness. Is there something I could drink to fix this raspiness? It's like Alex Jones, you know? You watch the old recordings of him from, the 90s, and he's this young guy. That guy's like 10 years younger than me. He looks older, but his voice has gotten so raspy, like a wrestler, I guess, from just shouting from the rooftops, like Paul Revere. Issue 47. Trump will be the 47th president when he's reelected. And 47 has some there's something about the number 47. My friend Tom Ranoni, who passed away, he said, when I first met him in the 80s, he told me every great movie has 47 in it. You'll watch this Sean Connery James Bond movie and they'll stop the clock, the bomb's about to explode right at 47. Usually it was 007, but sometimes people just randomly say there are 47 soldiers coming or something. And then we would go to see movies in the theater, and someone on the screen would say 47, and he'd shout out 47 like a mental patient, and everyone I'm sure around him probably thought we were crazy, but he would always do that whenever watching a movie on VHS. 47, 47. He'd point out all the 47s. And then you really start watching for 47s, and they're everywhere. I don't know if it just rolls off the tongue really well, 47, or if it has some mystical, magical significance to these witches that write these movies in Hollywood, warlocks. But it really is true, and you can actually see websites on the internet about 47. And I was told, and I cannot verify this, that in Star Trek The Next Generation, starting with the second or third season, they caught on to this, and someone says 47 in every episode. Those of you that are into that, let me know, because I was only ever a Star Trek, now they call it the original series, TOS. That's what I loved. Star Trek The Next Generation came along, and I was so happy. I watched it for the first season, maybe 2 seasons, season and a half. It wasn't quite the Star Trek I remembered. It was okay. It was just, I wanted Kirk, Spock, and McCoy and that cast. And I wanted the 1960s, and I wanted that 60s music, and I wanted the high adventure and the fighting and the giant beehive hairdos and the miniskirts and the pulp feel that was in, because it was great science fiction, but it was also pulpy, and I liked that with monsters and things. And then the Next Generation seemed like whenever there was action or fighting, it was inside the holodeck, it was virtual reality, and it wasn't really happening. And they seemed to talk out problems more than fighting, and I wanted to see fighting. Because, I don't know, It's just crazy. So I guess I stopped watching it. I was doing a lot of things back in the 80s in college, when that was on. And then everybody tells me, if you just waited till the third season, that's when it kicked in and got great. I can't wait till the third season. You better impress me in the first season somehow. Oh, big news. Great TV series, The Marvelous Miss Maisel. Have you seen that? It's about a female comedian in the late 50s and early 60s, right around the middle, right about 1960, right? And she befriends a real comedian, Lenny Bruce, and who's played very well in the show. Very great period detail. It's a wonderful show, and the actress is just so magnetic and charming, and it's just a great series. We're several seasons behind in it, and it's my fault that I get griped at about that a lot, because I would fall asleep because I get tired because I'm old. My wife's 13 years younger than me, and I fall asleep, and she wants to keep watching, so I got to go back and watch that last episode because I fell asleep before we can move on to the next episode. Then we get distracted by this or that or the other thing. And pretty soon we're a season behind, then 2 seasons behind. She says, I want to watch Miss Maisel. I heard it 2 nights ago. Anyway, yesterday or earlier this morning, James Gunn, who's taken over the DC universe, announces who he is cast as Superman and who he's cast as Lois Lane. And the guy that's playing Superman looks like Superman. And, Henry Cavill looked like Superman, but the way he was directed, he was told to be very unsmiling and depressed, and so he just didn't have that magnetic charm. Yes, he had the jawline and everything. He could have been a great Superman. They didn't give him the spit curl or the red trunks, but yeah, he could have been a great Superman. But anyway, people say, why did he fire Henry Cavill? Because Henry Cavill's like 40 and or 42, and James Gunn wants to have a movie about Superman in the younger part of, when he's in his early 20s. So he's cast a guy who I think is 28, looks young and looks like Superman. And he's cast the actress that I can't remember her name but he's also American. He's also from the United States. And the last Superman, he was British. Nothing wrong with being British. He could fake an American accent, but in Spider-Man, the actor playing Spider-Man, he's British. The guy playing Doctor Strange is a lot of British actors. Nothing wrong with that, but at least, Superman is, truth, justice, and the American way. Although they leave American way out a lot now because they're embarrassed of the country. They want to bring in this, their Marxist utopia. Anyway, so he's like 28, and the actress that plays Miss Maisel is playing Lois Lane. She's beautiful, she's charming, she's a little bit older, she's like 32. Amy Adams, who was playing Lois Lane against Henry Cavill, I didn't ever really like her. I didn't think she was very pretty. She's also, I think she's about my age. If she's not in her 50s, I think she's 48. Well, she's about 10 years younger than me. That's a little too old to keep playing Lois Lane. Moving forward. I hate using moving forward. We've been conditioned to say it. It's one of those communist slogans that they used to put on posters. Forward, ever forward. Anyway, he's got a dynamite casting decision there with casting these 2 actors, whatever their names are. I'm sure we'll know them pretty soon. They'll be at the tip of our tongue, but right now both those actors are pretty much, their names aren't in the popular consciousness. So I still know her as Miss Maisel. But I think it'll be great. And I'm really encouraged. I know James Gunn loves comics, understands comics, and will do a great job. But whenever I mention that to my wife, she says, I don't even want to hear James Gunn's name. She'll watch Guardians of the Galaxy with me and enjoy it, and Suicide Squad and whatever else and enjoy it. but she really doesn't like James Gunn, and it's just hard to get past what he used to do when he put out all those tweets. And I guess all the liberals are upset that Trump used to have those horrible tweets, those mean tweets. Well, the tweets that James Gunn used to put out constantly on Twitter many years ago were horrifyingly awful. That I can't even repeat them. And I understand. I think he was kidding and trying to be shocking and trying to make fun of Hollywood's predilection for that kind of thing. But the one thing is, they weren't funny. That was a problem. And they were sick, and it's just hard to get past it. It's like, I remember when X-Men, why can't I remember? The X-Men time travel movie based on the series I read from the comics, but I can't remember the name right now. Days of Future Past. When that movie was about to be released, and that was a great movie, they released the scandal of what the director had been accused of, and that was terrible. It's like, but that movie was so great, and it's like, I loved the movie. But then the next one he made was terrible with that Egyptian stuff. But I'll tell you, the scene of Quicksilver and just having fun in Washington, D.C. while the Jim Croce song Time in a Bottle plays, and you see it in his time, and something that just really happened in just half a second, how he disarmed all these policemen that were shooting at I guess Professor X and Magneto, and he runs around running on the walls. That's what comic book filmmaking should be, because he's having fun. It's not that he's like Henry Cavill, so tortured being Superman. What a burden I have. Oh, I've got to save you too. I'm looking down. I've got to save these people from this flood. Well, when will they learn, being a hero, being flooded? But he was just having a blast, the time of his life, and that's the kind of thing that scene is so great. Sometimes Hollywood can really amaze you, and that scene amazed me. And then there were just things like, sometimes a movie will be filled with moments like that, like the original Raiders of the Lost Ark. It was non-stop from beginning to end. Amazing stuff. And I went to see a sneak preview of that movie at the Six Flags Mall Theater with my mother, because I didn't have a driver's license yet at that time. What was that, about 81? It came out in 81, or was it 81 or 82? 81. I don't know. It was a sneak preview. They used to do that. I saw a sneak preview of Gremlins too. You would see it maybe a month or two before it came out, and then they would watch how the audience reacted, and sometimes you'd fill out a card. What did you think of this movie? Anything you'd change? And I went to the sneak preview because it was a new Spielberg movie, and I loved it. Driving home in the car, my mother was driving, I said, that movie is gonna bomb because people are too stupid. Because I was cynical even then. I thought, there's no way people are gonna understand the movie, how great this movie is. They're not gonna like it. And I was proved wrong, and I was so glad I was proved wrong. So Raiders of the Lost Ark, you figure, it's gonna be the new franchise, like James Bond with Sean Connery. And we'll have a new Indiana Jones movie every few years. I wish that had happened. A few years later, there was Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, but it wasn't as good as the first one. It was like a letdown. There was this horrible woman in it that played the love interest, and it's like, no, I miss Karen Allen from the first Raiders movie. Why you put this horrible screaming blonde in there? She's so annoying. Well, it turned out it was Steven Spielberg's real life girlfriend. And she was terrible, and that brought the movie down. He had a little kid short run or something, shortcut, sidekick. I didn't really like that much either, but it was okay. You know, it was pretty good. And then it had a scene where a heart is pulled out of a living guy, and that upset so many parents, and that's one of the reasons they brought in the PG-13 rating in between PG and R. But anyway, same thing with Gremlins. It had some stuff in it that horrified kids, and the movie Poltergeist also, that's why. Oh, I saw a sneak preview of Gremlins too, about 2 months before it came out. And we filled out cards, and I guess a lot of people said, we love the scene in the bar where the Gremlins are getting drunk. And we laughed so hard, my friend Ryan and I did. That scene was so funny. And then I guess people wrote they loved it, so they went back and edited the movie and added more footage into that scene in the bar. And then the movie finally came out, and we say, hey, everybody, you got to come see. We saw this movie a couple of months ago. You won't believe how great it is. And it was still great, but when it got to that bar scene, the bar scene wasn't funny anymore. Because, like, things that were funny, it's like they cut it just the right second, and you laughed hysterically, where you're just like, I'm not going to live. I'm going to die. I'm laughing. So you ever had that where you laugh so hard? It's like, I don't think I can survive this movie. I don't think I'm going to pass out. This is so funny. And when has that happened? What movies? Some of those, like Airplane, Naked Gun movies have gotten me like that. The Jackass movies have gotten me like that. Some movies just get you so bad in some way. Toy Story 2 got me bad in another way. When that little cowgirl doll was singing about when her owner used to love her, and you know, oh my God, I can't even handle it right now. That song, When She Loved Me, and how she was thrown under a bed while the little girl grew up. God, I can't take it, because really it's not about that little doll. It's about pets. It's about children. And man, I look at me, it's like, how many decades has it been? 30 years since Toy Story 2 came out. I can't take it. You think about dogs that are taken to the pound because the family just can't handle them anymore. And it's like, or whatever, you know, things like that. But this little girl, this little doll is looking out from under the bed, hoping she'll love her like she used to, and instead she winds up in a thrown in a box by the side of the road. Is it understanding the metaphor of pets? Being a pet lover? Is it being a toy collector? In realizing, I really sound like Robert Kennedy now, in realizing the spiritual connection to these childhood toys. And it's like these people sell their childhood toys. I grew up, I had to get rid of these toys. But I have this connection, you know, it's like these comics bought by Kevin at Gotham City Comics in Mesa, Arizona, last weekend. This is a collection of a little girl that loved these comics, man. She treated them, these are comics from the early 50s, treated so beautifully. They've survived 70 years. And I guess she passes away. She kept them her whole life. And they're just taking, hey, these are something my mom used to read. Yeah. I shouldn't have talked about Toy Story 2 when I got watching Toy Story 2 with my brother's family. and my nephew and my nieces, you know, when it was in the theater. And I'm the uncle. I don't want to look like some, some sissy. So I'm trying to keep from crying, and it's like I felt my esophagus was gonna burst. It was horrible. That was a horrible experience. But you know, emotions. If a movie can make you feel an emotion, it's a great movie. If it can make you sad like that, or if it can make you laugh, then or a great book, great art. It gives you a visceral reaction, and to me, this is great art. I mean, it looks nothing like what you would have seen in Star Trek. You wish that maybe Star Trek could have looked like that sometime. This is a Dynabrite comic. I was telling you about these. These are printed on this slick paper, and they were printed with real bright ink. And they were hoping these would sell at comic book stores, or sell not on comic book stands, but next to the coloring books, which Whitman put out also. And they had a bunch of Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck books done too that way. But yeah, it's like I've got these stuffed animals upstairs that were like my Woody and my Jet Screamer, or whatever his name was, Cosmo Speed Boy, what's his name? Roger Ramjet, Buzz Lightyear, yeah. Like that, and they're sacred to me. You know, they're up in the comic book room right now. They're my say, that Gratu, he just never grew up. He likes toys. What kind of moron is he, man? But anyway, if you can watch that scene in Toy Story 2, where that little girl doll, that cowgirl doll, sings that song, and it doesn't stir up any emotion in you, then you probably will never understand me and my and what makes me tick. That's yeah, buddy. What the heck? These aliens here. Boy. Ooh, boy. Okay, well, I'll tell you, one of the greatest things you'll ever hear, this is Steve Zodiac and Fireball XL5. Now, the real TV show this is based on is early 60s black and white Jerry and Sylvia Anderson from England. They did these puppet shows with marionettes. These were actually marionettes in the TV series. They later did Thunderbirds and Stingray and what was a bunch of them. Joe 90, and then they did a live action series, Space 1999, UFO. Anyway, the show was called Fireball XL5. The closing credits, the song that plays over the closing credits, I Wish I Were a Spaceman, is one of the greatest songs ever written by anyone in the history of mankind. And I don't know. By the way, hold on a second. Talking about music from the history of mankind, this friend of mine was at one of my parties back in the old country, and he says, lately I've been listening to a lot of ancient Egyptian funeral music. And I'm thinking, man, how do we know what music sounded like in ancient Egypt? All we've got are hieroglyphs. You're looking at hieroglyphs and you see the pictures of the instruments they're playing in some of these pictures, and you're assuming, how do we know what the music sounded like? It's like, what do you get, Edgar Casey to tell you in a dream what it sounded like? It's like, I don't know. I said, oh, that's great. It's just like, how exact? Well, I don't remember what he answered. And I can't ask him now because he passed. He was a record collector that really into mod music from the 60s, right? So he'd drive around with those mod scooters that were so cool in the 60s. Well, you know, you see, like, you know, the Who, right? You see in, you know, anyway, whatever. The mods from the 60s, right? They're little scooters. Well, he was riding one of those around in Dallas traffic. Dallas traffic is ungodly. And he was hit and killed. It was a tragedy, so... but you want to ride a little scooter like that, you better live in a little town like this. There's not a single, you know, there's not a single stoplight in this entire county. When I go back to some big city, it's going to be a shock, you know. But I can't fix my radiator right now, so I don't want to drive very far. But if you order some episodes of Tomb of Terror, then I can maybe fix my radiator. I got to get on the Four Color Fossils show here in a little bit. It's 5:30. That show starts about at 7 Central Time. If you're watching this show on Wednesday, June 28th, and it's between 7 and 9 p.m. in the evening, I'm on live on another show. You got to go to the Graphic Man channel. A lot of times I'll do a show on a Wednesday, I'll upload it. It takes hours for this thing to upload, and then it just pops on right in the middle of the Four Color Fossils. And then I'm looking in horror at my phone, and I see 15, 20 people have already clicked on or watched part of my show. And it's like, no, I put it last week. I put it in the comments down below. No, I'm on live on this other channel. Go watch that, then come back and watch this. I don't want to compete against the show I'm on. I don't want to do that to Graphic Man. You got to look up Graphic Man and then maybe type in comic book after that, because if you type in the Graphic Man to find his channel, you're going to get graphic man hit by car, graphic man squashed run over by truck, you know, or graphic family hit by train. No, that wouldn't be man. Anyway, you got to type in Graphic Man comic book. He's got a great channel. Every Wednesday he does a show with a bunch of old comic collectors called Four Color Fossils. This movie, Sword and the Dragon, you can see kind of bootleg versions of it on YouTube. It's a Russian movie based on Russian mythology. If you like old Thor comics from the 1960s, you would love this movie, because it's like Viking. It's great. It's Viking stuff. To save his land, mighty Ilya Muromets battles the savage Tugars and their fearsome dragon. It's really cool. Sword and the Dragon. It's a good movie. It's dubbed into English. Came out in the 60s here. When I was in 3rd grade, maybe 4th grade, they raised money at my elementary school. They brought in a 16mm projector and rented this movie and showed it in the school cafeteria. You know, it was a cafeteria auditorium. You know, they'd move the lunch tables out and move in chairs, and they had a stage, and they projected this movie up, Tales of Terror, and then you paid your $1 or whatever to see it, and they raised money, I don't know, for the PTA or something. But I remember that's how I saw this movie. It's kind of a horror comedy, and you've got Vincent Price and Peter Lorre, and I think Basil Rathbone. It was an older movie. This was in the early 70s that I saw it, but it was a movie from 10 years before. All right, we're moving into Del Tarzan. Look at this beautiful cover. I wish I had more of these Tarzan books. but I don't. Tarzan, you got to read the Tarzan books. I mean, the actual Edgar Rice Burroughs novels. They're fantastic, and Tarzan is nothing like most of the movies you've seen. The last Tarzan movie was pretty good. It came out right before the pandemic. It had someone named Skarsgård in it, and I think it was the same guy that was in that Viking movie that came out a couple of years ago, the Northman, it was called the Northman. Not the Norseman, but because that was a movie with Lee Majors in the 70s. I think it was called the Northman or something, the North something. It was a good Viking movie. It had that weird-looking girl in it from that Netflix series about the female chess champion that took place in the 60s. That's a great series. I can't remember I never can remember what it's called, but it's great. This is a spooky-looking girl, whoever this actress is. Can't remember her name. Anyway, Skarsgård. Apparently, there's two brothers named Skarsgård, but I understand that it's not officially announced. Like Superman and Lois Lane, that casting's official, but I gotta pick my wife up at 6. I gotta watch the clock. No, it's 6:15. Anyway, I understand that one of the two Skarsgårds, or maybe both of them, are being considered to play Lex Luthor in what the heck is his name? The Guardians of the Galaxy guy in his new DC universe. I was just talking about him. I can't think of his name. I'm trying to think of his name, and I thought Joe Biden, the new DC Joe Biden movies. What is his name? I'm really starting to lose it, man. I don't think I got enough sleep. It's not... Guardians of the Galaxy. Why can't I think of his name? Okay, whatever. You know what I'm talking about. This one is from, I'm not telling you when. This is from August of '65. These beautiful painted covers. They did a great job on these Tarzan books. Tarzan was with Dell, and then when Gold Key split away from Dell, the Edgar Rice Burroughs properties went over to Gold Key. This is from 1967. But I think that's terrible when families just get rid of pets, or a parent gets rid of a pet because it's just a problem, and takes it away from the kid and takes it away to the pound, or to, I gave it to someone at the farm, we'll have a nice life. And to me, that kind of tragedy is, it just, I can't even fathom the psychological damage that must do to a kid. I don't know. Some people aren't into pets. I don't understand people like that either. Of course, that's the way my parents were. I never had a pet growing up. So it wasn't until I was older that I was able to, get a cat. Yeah. And then a dog, and then another cat. I just think about all the heck I've been through in my life, and everything that's led me to here, and these comics aren't my childhood comics. These comics came out This is August of 1970. But when I look at these comics that came out when I was like a little kid, like this is my childhood copy of this. So this is probably from hold on. I've got an actual gold key copy of it, so I can tell you exactly when it came out. March of 72. So that's the end of my first grade year. So this comic here, that's one I got later. This comic I've had since the end of first grade. And I love the Three Stooges. Because my mom didn't want to let me watch the Three Stooges. So I became obsessed with the Three Stooges. I love the Three Stooges. Not that Joe Besser guy, I didn't like him. But she thought I'd, imitate them. I wouldn't have. I don't think I would have. She didn't like me reading Dennis the Menace because he didn't speak with proper grammar, my mother being an ex-teacher. And so I became obsessed with Dennis the Menace. Dennis the Menace was forbidden. The Three Stooges were forbidden. The monster magazines were forbidden. So they became things I love and I still love. But the spiritual, that may sound corny, spiritual, but the emotional connection you have with holding an object that you've had for over 50 years is it's hard to explain. Some people don't have these connections, and you think, well, why do you have these connections? This is just transient. You're going to pass on and become a spirit and go to heaven, and this is just physical stuff. You need to. Yeah, I don't know, but I'm just like I don't think I'm gonna come back as a ghost and haunt these comics, but I don't know. Some people say you die and then you get resurrected at the end of the final war that they're gonna start. And some people say, no, you get resurrected whenever people get raptured before the war happens, and then some people say, no, you get reincarnated, and of course you get reincarnated, you got to live through all this horrible stuff again, and you got to rebuild the whole comic collection in your next life. But I don't know. Reincarnation could explain a lot of these people that feel like they're in the wrong body, and have this gender dysphoria. Maybe it's because they were a girl in the last life and now they're a guy. That could be. But, I guess we'll find out pretty soon, what's going to happen. I don't know. I've known people that have actually died and been resurrected, by the doctor or whatever, and they were completely dead, and they've seen relatives and everything. So none other people say, no, that was just demons trying to deceive them. I don't know, man. Whatever. I wish I could know exactly. Those people that have died and come back on the operating table, whatever, at least they know what's gonna be, what things are gonna be like. Because they pretty, whatever did, why worry about that? And then there are the idiots that just think, well, you're just gonna rot. There's no life after this. I don't believe that. There's definitely, here's how you know that God's real. Because you look around and you can tell that the devil's real. You can look around and see all the evil, and that evil really hates religion so much, and they're so angry about it. How they tried to shut the churches down during the pandemic. There's the same evil people. And did I just show you this? I did, didn't I? Anyway, so I don't know. Oh, this is a great cover, man. These covers just never cease to amaze you. Okay, then we get to New Terry Toons, Snow Carnival. I think that this is from August of '63. Oh, this was a brief TV series called The Cat that is well remembered and loved by the 5 people that actually saw it when it was on the network. But that's Robert Loggia, who was a character actor that played The Cat. He played a mob boss in a movie called Innocent Blood, which was directed by John Landis. If you ever have a chance to see Innocent Blood, that's the closest Hollywood's ever been to making a Vampirella movie. It's about a woman that's a vampire, and she has to feed and drink blood, but she only goes after mafia guys and mob bosses, and she cleans up the city by only going after bad people. So she's like a hero. She doesn't wear the skimpy outfit that Vampirella wore, but she's some foreign actress that was in a lot of, I forget what movie she was in. She's been in some movies, I don't know. Here's another. This is Dell. This is a title that never went to Gold Key. Anyway, Innocent Blood to me, when I watched it, I thought, this feels like a Vampirella comic magazine from Warren, the original Warren Vampirella, because she was from another planet. She wasn't an undead vampire. She was from a planet where there were rivers of blood. It was like water to them, and so in order to control her urge for blood, she had this injection that had been developed for her, so she'd have to actually get a needle and shoot up to keep from biting people, as I recall. And she had this is Rudy Kazootie, a puppet show from the 50s. This is a 3D comic, and it doesn't have the 3D glasses in it, but 3D glasses, you can find these red and blue 3D glasses. I've got a bunch of pairs around from other 3D comics, but anyway, Rudy Kazootie. I don't think this is a high dollar book, although it looks like it should be. It can't be a high. Oh, I have it. Why isn't it filed under R for Rudy? I have it filed under T for 3D. That's just how I do it. Here's another copy of that. Maybe the glasses are in this one. I don't know. Let's look and see. It's kind of rude to just say maybe they are. I don't know. I don't know. It doesn't look like it. Maybe they're in the front. I mean, it's going to be highly unlikely that the 3D glasses are going to stay in a book after 60, 70 years, because at some point some little kid's going to want to actually see what it looks like, because it's really hard to read that. It's completely unreadable. You know, that means that the 3D is kind of extreme. The more unreadable it is, that's the more extreme the 3D effects are going to be. But I've never actually looked at this in 3D, and I guess I should. But then there's probably a lot of things I should do, like not waste my time doing this show all the time. But I have this strange compulsion to keep coming back, because there's a few hundred faithful people. It's not a big viewership, but the people that watch this show are very, very faithful, and there's a couple hundred, you know. That's supposed to be something you're embarrassed about, because people say, you know, you should have at least 10,000 subscribers, but, you know, what can I say? I'm not likable enough to have that many, or maybe this was an upgrade for my childhood copy. It says it has a stain on the price tag, but it sure looks a lot better than my childhood copy. Tiger Girl. I was just reading something about this comic the other day and who created it, and I've completely forgotten. With claw and fury, she springs into the trap of Wolfhound, a human beast. Certainly a cool-looking character. Here's the first issue of Time Tunnel, an Irwin Allen, based on an Irwin Allen TV series. Time Tunnel was a great show. Starred James Darren and Lee Merriweather, who was the Catwoman in the Batman 1966 movie. Julie Newmar played Catwoman in the first 2 seasons, but that was when that was filmed. She was filming a movie called McKenna's Gold, a Western, where she played a Native American. And then in the 3rd season, Catwoman was played by Eartha Kitt. And Batman, even with his amazing detective skills, wasn't able to notice that Catwoman looked a little different in the 3rd season. But boy, she did a great job as Catwoman. Of course, most normal people prefer Julie Newmar as the ultimate Catwoman from everybody. Michelle Pfeiffer did a great job. Eartha Kitt did great. Who else? Forget who played her. I think the granddaughter of Bob Marley played her in the last Batman movie. I've only seen the first 15 minutes of that new Batman movie. I was watching it. I don't think my wife wants to watch it. And then I just kind of was, I'll come back to this. And then I just never did. And it's on HBO, or so I need to get back and watch the rest of it. And it's like Bruce Wayne looks like one of the Smith. It looks like Rob, just like his hair is down, he's all emoed out. Here's Tom and Jerry, but I need to get back to that and I'll give it a chance. What other Catwomans have there been? Oh, Lee Merriweather. Actually, that's my point. I think Lee Merriweather was actually probably right up there with my wife's calling. I gotta go and take this call. So I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.